Hello and welcome to day 13 of Adventures in Tarot Casting, a series that I have been doing for the entire month of June so far, where I showcase one of the many casting boards that we create and tell you a little bit about it. So this particular board, this backdrop, stage, whatever you want to call it, the settings are placed on a painting that I did back in July of 2013, where I call it the Teacup Hand, and it's basically, it was inspired, it's a marker drawing. The original is made with Copic markers, and I always outline with microns. My preferred method of coloring is actually using markers as a painting method, because I just love everything about the way that the alcohol ink from the Copic markers just absorbs into the Bristol board, and how you can get such smooth transitions, and I just love it. So this board was created to kind of emulate, again, this was when I was still actively taking tattoo appointments, and if you know me and you've been in my world for a while, you know I closed my studio because of COVID, so I am semi-retired. What that means is, who knows? One day I may have a shop again, one day I may not. I'm just here for the journey. So the hand, I did it in a subject matter of a classic tattoo style where, at that time it was really popular to have a hand holding something. And I was, a teacup and tea. And then I was thinking about how the smoke sometimes can emulate into things. And I guess I was channeling perhaps a little bit of The Nightmare Before Christmas, when Sally's mixing the potions and the fumes turn into like a skull and a butterfly and fly away. So that was kind of part of the inspiration. And of course, whenever I draw hands, I have to add some sort of tattoos to it. So that's why the skull exists. And then on the knuckles, it says LOVE. So it's just where beauty meets the beast, perhaps, as far as imagery goes. And we could deep dive into art, as I've talked about before. Any piece of art has the ability to become an oracle. But when I was doing the card placements for this backdrop, I thought it'd be really neat to just merge pretty much everything. It's kind of like a kitchen sink, right? So you've got 3 large card spaces, and then a huge oracle space, and then of course the tiles down here. So you could do the daily casting method. However, I also did the 3 cards above, and then the tiny tile placements here and here and here, so that you have variety, like in any of these boards. Again, they're just guidelines, but I like to show you how I might want to use them. So I'm decided for today that we're going to use the 3 large card placements, these, and then the tiny spaces. So for the 3 large cards, I'm going to use Out of Hand Tarot. It's my new deck that is launching next Tuesday. I'm very excited, a week from tomorrow, on Kickstarter. And then I'm going to use Pocket of Peers, which is part of the same universe, because this is a spin-off deck. Pocket of Peers for the above and below. And then these are going to be Lenormand tiles that kind of give us more insights on this, and then more insights on this. So let's just get to it, shall we? So the main 3-card reading is going to be Out of Hand Tarot. And this just shows you how you can take a basic 3-card reading and make it into something more, right? So just for the sake of this reading, I'm going to do the classic past, present, future. So I like to start with the middle position as the present, because this is what is known, right? Shuffle these, stack them. So here's the present, and we have the Emperor, and then the past position, what brought us here, and then the future position, the 5 of Swords. Have you noticed that these readings can be a bit daunting? So what brought us here is this action, right? Like that Knight of Wands, I always think they're the ones to run into a burning building. They're the ones that are like, this is my calling, I need to save people, even if they don't realize they need to be saved. That Knight of Wands is just action embodied. The present state, where we are, is that Emperor energy, the needing to take control of our lives, right? Like foundation, stability. We mean business. And going forward in the future, however, being too rigid in our thinking, and if we continue down this path, we might be like cheating ourselves and others. We might be in this space of like being too rigid, not seeing the full picture, and then in, you know, that it's not sustainable. We have to be a little bit less rigid, because going forward, if we stay on that path, we have that, you know, the Five of Swords in this particular card. I have somebody taking a test and they have the answer key on the soda can. In the guidebook, you have like the swords from the actual Rider-Waite-Smith card. The pencils emulate those swords, you know, but they're cheating themselves. They're cheating on a test, and by doing that, they're throwing off the curve, and they're also manipulating the way that everything else is going to go, and they're not really learning the lesson, right? So maybe running too blindly into a building and just without assessing what's going on has brought us to this, well, this is how it's done. This is our thinking. This is this. This is this. But again, being rigid doesn't really make the best plan for everybody in our orbit, right? So I just keep thinking about how we're stealing away and cheating ourselves as well as the world. So the above energy, the above is going to be another little like 3-card reading, because we're going to use tiles, and then we'll have the 3 for below. So I'm going to put them both out. When I shuffle, I think about, okay, what do I need to know about the above energy, and what do I need to know about the below? So above energy, we have that 10 of Wands, excuse me, the 6 of Pentacles, and the Emperor again. So we have the Emperor in both places. And below we have the King of Cups, the Star, and the King of Wands. Okay. So you see how like this is creating like a pretty nice aesthetically pleasing reading on this board, you know, like when you choose which layout you're going to use or which tile placements, you know, you can play with it. You can see I like balance, so that's why most of my boards will have some sort of symmetrical balance going on. But at this point, it's like, oh, that's a pretty reading, right? You could look at it and say, what pops out? What's coming at me first? And you could go with that. That's how we build upon these messages. It's not just past, present, future anymore. Now we have the above energy, and you're going, okay, well, how do each of these play into this reading? So we've got that 10 of Wands. It's like saying, well, sometimes you have to, you know, get out there and speak your truths and speak the identity to the world and do the thing, even if it's a burden, right? Only then are you going to be able to find that balance between that emperor energy, right? Like find the, I give this so that whatever you get from what I'm telling you and what I'm doing, my actions, can help you reevaluate your foundations, your structures. And again, when I use the tiles, it's not another huge reading. They're just adding like keywords to the conversation. And then below the undercurrent, this might be that passive energy, what we desire, what we really want to happen, but we don't know how to bring it into this world. And we have the King of Cups, the Star, and the King of Wands. And I see somebody who wants to lead, right? Like we've got, if you pan back, you've got the Emperor, King, and the King. So we've got 4 cards that are kind of dominant, big energy, right? But these could be talking about where you want to be. You want to be a leader that leads with their heart, but also leads with their passions and the ideas. And in the middle, you have the Star. And like that is really, what is your guiding force? You know, you're looking at it. So then when you see it all circling, you're going, okay, am I too action oriented and I'm not enough thinking logically? I'm not enough being like, in order to get to this future self, you know, the Knight is working towards becoming a ruler, right? The Knight wants to be the King of Wands, perhaps, or maybe they're fine with just being active and not necessarily leading. That's okay. But in itself, doing that, they're still in a role of inspiring others, right? So then when they're thinking too rigid about their, you know, their plan or their path, that's probably where they're stealing from themselves and the people around them. You know, like that Five of Swords is saying, well, if it's working for you, that's fine, but are you preventing yourself from doing something else? Are you preventing yourself from being bigger? Like all of these things radiate down into this Emperor. And at this point, you kind of go, okay, well, these are difficult cards. Like sit with the ones that are more difficult and understand why. And then that's when, again, you see those patterns, right? You see, we got the burden, we got the charity. So charity can be a burden to somebody who is in a rulership position, but it also can be a blessing, right? Like some of the most amazing leaders are the ones that put the thoughts of those that they are leading, quote unquote, first, because it makes them not necessarily above it all, you know. And that's, I see that, excuse me, on a grand scale, we see that in action right now. We want people who are from our same life, you know, who have experienced life in the same lens, and a lot of leaders, emperors and whatnot haven't. We want the ones who were the Knight of the Wands and experienced being cheated by the system, right? So that's where it's like, okay, I want a ruler that knows where I've been, that listens to my dreams, my hopes, and all the things, and then has the audacity and ability to make it happen, you know, so that we don't have to see this anymore. So when you're doing these kind of readings, allow the words to kind of come out. If you're journaling them out, just kind of go with it and see how they weave back and forth, right? So I'm going to give us 2 tiles on each side to complete the layout, and then kind of give us some action, because, you know, with Lenormand, I feel it's kind of quick and to the point. And so we have ship. Look at how cute they are. Oh my God, they're so cute. These are newer birds. And I'm doing these as 2 cards like that on each side. So we have house and lily. And then down here, we have dog and fox. And lady, or signifier 29, which is the gentler nature energy. Especially when we talk about a collective, I always use it more as the overall thing. And then whip. Okay, so now with that, and seeing how it wants to come into this reading, we see these play off the top one. So we have the ship and the bird. So we have like, this is a 2-card horizontal and this is a 2-card horizontal. So it's kind of like we have a lot of talk about moving forward, but we haven't gotten to the action part, right? And so with the lily in the house, it's talking about, yeah, we have all this gossip, this talk, this desire to move forward, to span new horizons, to really just have that movement. But right now, I feel like we're just stuck in this waiting for things to get peaceful and calm and safe, but there's not a lot of action, right? And so then you think about that, okay, that's what we know, that's what's overhead. We have, you know, and then you could also, if you want more, you could go, okay, ship and house, and then lily and birds. And ship and house, it's like traveling to a new idea of what is a safe space for everyone, right? And birds and lily is talking about, well, these talks have been going on for a really long time. An idea, in theory, they're great. But again, you know, that's where this 10 of Wands, it's like, why do we always have to just talk about it? Why can't we have action? So there has to be that give and take, right? With that 6 of Pentacles. And then we go into the below energy. Remember I said this kind of that undercurrent, the passivity. So we have dog and fox, and it's talking about, you know, those people that we're loyal to, sometimes they may not be so trustworthy, or they're helping us get outside of the boxes, right? When I look at fox, I think of it as an entrepreneur card. I think about the skill and the cunningness that it takes to be a fox that survives in the wild. In Lenormand, classically, it's a negative card. Mine, it's more neutral. when you read Lenormand, I know I've mentioned it before in other readings, it's best to stick with what it means to you. And I will say that only because in this instance, I see dog as a friend and the people that we are loyal to, those people who are in our orbit that, you know, we put our trust in. But there might be somebody that is kind of like, maybe I shouldn't trust them as much as I do. So you just kind of got to like evaluate some of the friends that are in your inner circle. And real leaders can do that. They can do those friend audits. They can look back at them and be like, oh, well, you know, when they came in my life, it was definitely to learn something, and they definitely brought a lot. But now my dreams have shifted, and maybe they're still in their old belief system. So just kind of, that's an undercurrent. So just be aware, right? And then going forward, we have the whip with the universal signifier, and it's saying, well, you want to be that gentle leader. You want to be the person who is the authority, but also understands why. Like, they're the ones who maybe don't want the authority, which makes them the best leaders, right? And that's that gentle energy. And the whip shows up to say there's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a lot of discord in this path. But again, with the central focus being that emperor, you are strong enough to do this because you've heard the cries, you've heard the space of needing to change, and now you are putting it to paper, right? So that kind of shows how you can do it. If you're not done with your reading and you want to continue to just play, by all means play. You know, you could read these as one line. You could say, okay, well, how about the Knight of Wands with these 4 Lenormand? And how about the 5 of Swords with these 4 Lenormand? And you can just kind of bounce off and play it any way you want. Like, I want to give you a permission slip to get creative. You know, it's the only way you're going to find out if some of these spreads are for you and some are not. And maybe watching me do this, you're like, oh my gosh, she should do it this way, or there's this and that. And you want to try it out on one of your clients if you're a professional reader, or you want to try it out in one of your own personal practice sessions just to do a deep dive. You know, that is what this does for me. It's like a permission slip to do the things, right? So that's today's board, and I will see you tomorrow for the full moon. I'm trying to think which board I want to use for that, so it's going to be fun. And as always, I appreciate you're here. Definitely let me know if you have any comments and questions in the comments. Strike that, reverse it. And again, have a nice day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.